All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fire briefing for July 2nd. I'm Rachel with NWS Spokane. And I believe Logan is on from NWS Seattle.
Yes, that's me.
Just reading our daily disclosure statement. The meeting is being recorded. By joining and participating in the session, consent is being given to the recording. Please keep your cameras off per NOAA Privacy Act statement. All right, so for the matrix today, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Logan to talk about Western Washington first.
Thanks so much. So over here on the west side, overall, we don't have any fire weather concerns through the next week. We'll maintain some pretty solid onshore flow through the rest of the week. And then starting July 4th and going into the weekend next week, we'll start to see that warming and drying trend. There's still quite a bit of uncertainty about what that's going to look like going into next week. But going into Monday and Tuesday, we'll definitely be seeing drier conditions, and that's when we'll start to see some of those RHs drop back into the 30s for our daytime minimum RHs. But otherwise, long story short, no significant fire weather concerns.
All right, thanks, Logan. So for Eastern Washington and North Idaho, we do have a few more concerns. Today is the most critical fire weather day. We're looking at dry and windy conditions across central and eastern Washington with some chances for isolated thunderstorms. We've seen a couple of lightning strikes over the southeastern portion of the region already this morning, and those chances will kind of shift northward through the day. Then dry and breezy conditions will continue into tomorrow, but shouldn't quite reach those critical thresholds that we're going to see today. And then there's some chances for isolated thunderstorms for far southeastern Washington for July 4th, and then isolated thunderstorms for northeastern Washington by the weekend. And North Idaho, kind of seeing similar trends, but not looking quite as critical for them. Fire weather conditions will still be elevated today and for Independence Day, dry and breezy with some chances for isolated thunderstorms today, and then more isolated thunderstorms on the 4th. And then things will cool down and RHs will increase a little bit through the weekend, and then we'll start to see things dry out and warm up again. So for Eastern Washington, that looks like RHs dropping back into the teens. So moving on, looking at wind and RH for today, we do have red flag warnings out for those areas highlighted in red on the map there from 2 to 9 p.m. this afternoon. And then yellow is highlighting elevated fire weather concerns aren't quite at those red flag thresholds, but will still be breezy with low RH values. We are going to reevaluate the zone here down by Clarkston area. The latest models are showing that zone getting drier and breezier than past model runs have. So there's a chance we will upgrade to a red flag warning for that zone later on this morning. Otherwise, for central Washington, winds this afternoon, we're looking at sustained speeds 15 to 25 miles an hour, gusts 30 to 40. And then eastern Washington in this yellow area here, we're looking at sustained speeds of 10 to 20 miles an hour with gusts of 25 to 30. Min-RHs region-wide dropping between 11 and 19%, and it's going to be a hot one today again with maximum temperatures in the mid-80s to upper 90s. Slight chance of dry lightning through this morning. It looks like those chances are dying down, but we did see a couple of strikes over the southeastern corner of the region here earlier this morning. And here is the highlighted area that has some chances for thunderstorms this afternoon, kind of along the eastern edge of the region here and into North Idaho. The chances will move northward throughout the afternoon. And that is it for the slides. And moving on to the weather. So here's the maximum temperatures we're looking at for today. For Western Washington, looks like it should be comfortable in the upper 60s to upper 70s. And then Eastern Washington, a little warmer, last day of temperatures in the 90s. And then we'll get a little bit of a cool down over the next few days before things warm up again early next week. And then looking at min RHs for today, looks like 50s and up for Western Washington, and then RHs in the low teens, low to upper teens throughout Eastern Washington, and then in the 20s for North Idaho. And showing wind speeds for today. I know it's a little small and hard to see, but showing those sustained speeds for Eastern Washington in the teens to 20s and gusts in the 30s. And then moving on to the trends here, I'll go ahead and pass it back to Logan in Seattle to talk about the trends for Hosamine.
Thanks, Rachel. So yeah, so through the rest of the week and into this weekend overall, you can see we have great recoveries with that onshore flow and, moderate temperatures in the 70s to low 80s. And then, as I mentioned before, next week, we'll start that warming and drying trend. We'll get back into the 80s and we'll start to see those RHs start to dip below 30%, but overall still we'll have decent daytime recovery with those max RHs still in the 60s and 70s. And wind speeds remain fairly low. So overall, no periods of fire weather concern in Western Washington.
All right, thanks, Logan. I'll go ahead and show for Central Washington, Entiat. We're seeing temperatures reaching the 90s today, low 90s, and then cooling down over the next couple of days through the weekend, and then warming back up as we head into early next week. Seeing RHs get down into the teens today, with recoveries gradually improving into the weekend, and then things getting dry again early next week, dropping back into the teens. And winds, we see that spike for today gusting near 30. And after that, winds should calm down quite a bit. Not seeing any other breezy days for the rest of the period. And then we'll move over to there we go. So for Bonner's Ferry, seeing the same thing with temperatures hot today in the upper 80s and then cooling off through the weekend, warming up again early next week. RH is not getting quite as low for that northern Idaho panhandle. Seeing dropping down into the mid 20s today, maybe low 20s tomorrow, and staying in that mid to upper 20s range through the weekend, and then maybe drying out again early next week. Recoveries into the 50s and just above 60, and a little bit breezy today, but not too bad. And moving on to the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. There is pretty good confidence of above normal temperatures the 9th through the 15th and near to above normal precipitation. And as always, you can find the recording of this briefing and other fire weather information on our fire dashboard at the link here. I will go ahead and stop the recording before moving on to questions.